And also, welcome back to the program, our friend Amber from Fidelity Bank. And you brought a special guest today.
I did. I have Mike Adamson with me with Adamson Insurance out of Ankeny.
This is the guy's name you see all over the place. It's this guy right over here.
Yep. So Mike's here. He's going to talk about homeowners insurance specifically today.
Absolutely.
Which of course ties in with Fidelity Bank doing mortgages. And so I'll hand it over to Mike.
All right. So what do we need to know?
Well, you know, when you're shopping around for homeowners insurance, it's important to make sure that you're getting an HO5 policy. That kind of levels that playing field so that you know that you're getting the same type of coverage. Two of the extras, I want to call them, that we always want to make sure that people have on their policy because they typically aren't part of the policy is what's called the sump pump backup of sewer and drain. And so typically
is that like flood insurance or completely different?
Oh, it's a whole different category. You saw him roll his eyes right there.
Okay, just checking. Good
typically
question.
in those late spring, early summers when we get 4 inches of rain in a very short period of time, we have a lot of clients that have issues with their sump pump.
Okay.
So flood is only written through the National Flood Insurance Program, but you can add an endorsement so that if water would ever back up through the sump pump and or sewer drain, okay, that you can add that extra coverage. So it is something that we always want to make sure our clients know about when they're purchasing this kind of information as well, too.
All right, so what are we taking a look at here with images?
So, you know, right here we've got some situations that it takes a lot of equipment, a lot of drying equipment. You know, people don't realize how expensive getting when they run into a situation where they have a water backup and stuff like that. So typically, you know, most people, $5,000 would be enough. I always remind clients that, hey, if you've got anywhere near 1,000 square feet, you're bumping that up to at least 10,000 of coverage. We're not worried as much as 5 feet of water as much as we're worried about that 1 to 2, but I tell you, it hits that pad and it just spreads, and a little bit of water can cause a lot of damage. So.
Okay.
Yep. And the other quick endorsement that I just always remind people of is jewelry. You know, we spend a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of emotion picking this stuff out. Unfortunately, loss oftentimes is not a covered peril. So a diamond falls out, a ring mysteriously gets misplaced. Unless that particular item is scheduled on the policy, there isn't any coverage for loss.
Now, what's the best way to document that? Just writing it down, I'm sure, is one thing. Was there anything better you can do to document what you have?
Typically, most purchases come with an appraisal. Okay. If it's an outdated appraisal, insurance companies may ask to get an appraisal that's newer than 5 years or old, or 5 years or newer. So, yeah, making sure that that's documented with the 4 C's and stuff like that, and a value, of course, is something that we want to make sure that they have.
Now, sometimes we hear about people that are doing some insurance policies and stuff for their home to videotape things or take pictures of things. Does that come in handy?
Absolutely. So when you have your policy, your personal property limit is only 75% of whatever the dwelling amount is. So people say, well, I have a $150,000 or $100,000 house.
Say 100, okay.
Very simple. So I have $75,000. Does that mean if, God forbid, something, you know, erases all of my stuff, am I going to get $75,000 check? No, the burden of proof of what you have needs to somehow be documented. You know, so it can really help speed up that process of getting your belongings back.
All right, so tell us the difference between an independent agent and a captive agent.
Having been on both sides, I've been in this business over 20 years, and I started my career as a captive. The thing that I didn't like
about... That doesn't sound pleasant.
What is that? Because all I see advertised are independent agents. I'm an independent agent.
It's, you know, the thing that... when you have a client that has a price increase or something goes wrong, you know, I mean, what my life today can be completely changed tomorrow by an accident or, you know, whatever. Your insurance can be changed as well, but when you're a captive agent, you have one option, that one carrier. As an independent, I feel like we bring our clients something that the captives can't, and that's choice. We have several different markets that we can go through, so if you add a son or a daughter to the policy and you freak out because your rates just doubled, you know, we can find what's best from a pricing and coverage standpoint. Also, if your premiums go up, which over the past few years, we've seen a lot of volatility in the homeowner market side, client calls in and says, hey, my rates went up. Well, we can shop the industry and say, listen, they went up, but so did the industry. Or, hey, you know what? They did. And that particular company had a bad year this year, so we're going to rewrite you with a different market over there.
So you can change companies then?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
With the same agent?
With the same agent, correct. Yep. So
that could come in handy.
I think it's a win-win.
It's stuff we don't like to think about. We don't want to think about disasters happening to our stuff, to our home, but you want to be protected in case something
Prepare
does.
for the worst, absolutely, and do those insurance reviews. You know, so many people think, oh, my policy is covering this, when actually it doesn't. So I always remind clients, you know, take the time, do the review, do the video inventory, you know, prepare for the worst, and you'll be set if it does ever happen.
All right, Mike, what can you tell us about, just real briefly, about umbrella policies and when that would be a good idea for someone to have an umbrella policy? First of all, what is it?
Okay, so an umbrella policy is an excess liability policy over your auto, home, boat, motorcycle, anything that you would have underlying coverage-wise, okay? My biggest fear for my clients isn't their house getting hit by a tornado or a fire, it's somebody suing them. So we really, whether they know what it is or want it, don't want it, they're going to get a quote from us on all of that, on what those options are. It basically extends, so if your homeowner policy is your personal liability anywhere in the world, $300,000 is a standard, we bump it an additional $1 million. Typical costs on a 2 vehicles in a home is going to run anywhere between $150 to $200 a year, depending on youthful drivers in the household. Of course, raise that up a little bit, but it is so important to have that excess protection on there today. So
things to think about.
And to get information, they can get a hold of you. What's the easiest way to get a hold of you?
Absolutely. Get a hold of me at 515-965-5552 is our main line, and yeah, we'd be happy to help you.
So you work with people like Mike on a regular basis?
We do. You know, that's one thing that we really pride ourselves on, is being a local community bank. And we also have local experts that we send business to. I mean, Mike's been in business over 30 years. He's one of the best. And he talked about searching for, you know, your homeowner's insurance, or doing that when someone comes in and they're looking to refinance or buy a home or build a home. That's the perfect time for them to look at all of their insurance information and make sure that, is it up to date? Are you getting the best deal? Are you happy with your service? So again, you know, we look at it as it's part of the teamwork that we have and the experts that we have to refer.
So how do people get a hold of you?
Well, fidelitybank.house, or of course 515-343-2300.
Just that easy.
That's it, just that easy.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, you guys.
We'll see you later.
Thanks, you guys.
Thanks, Mike.